is unlikely to yield always accurate conclusions. Further, the folk concept of Gaydar is a legitimizing myth that exacerbates the stereotyping process, covertly encouraging reliance on the stereotypes as categorization cues, seeking out and emphasizing intergroup similarities rather than intergroup differences. Combating stereotypes and dispelling legitimizing myths will help us to progress toward the personal and societal goal of social equality. That's what it said. And so this would say that it's a bad thing to have Gaydar, and the bad thing to use it, and the bad thing to essentially, make judgments on people, whether they're gay or not. Now, I have to disagree with this for several reasons. First of all, every single person, every human being on this planet, you always pass judgments, whether you're recognizing that you're doing it or not. When you meet someone, you're making judgments on them. You're judging their hair, or the way they look physically, or their race, or their sexual orientation, or their manner of speaking, or their speech, or their mannerisms, or whether they're wealthy, whether they're poor, whether they're middle class, whether they're educated, whether they're not educated, based on how they speak, etc. So these are all judgments that we make in a split second when we meet somebody, that are going on in our brain and our subconscious primarily. And because of these judgments we make, it's not uncommon for us to make judgments like whether someone's gay or straight. And it isn't a bad thing. And so the way he was kind of couching it was as if it was a bad thing to somehow, quote unquote, as he put it, stereotype people. And of course I agree that stereotyping people, because of race, because of sexual orientation, because of sex, or because of religion or whatever, is a bad thing to some degree in terms of, using that against someone. However, when you are a gay person and you're looking at other gay people, to pass judgments on whether someone is gay or not, whether it's because you want to know them as a friend, or whether you want to know them as a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, it isn't a bad thing. It's just a survival thing. It's just a matter of finding people like you. And that's why I think that it may indeed be somewhat instinctual. Whether or not it's partially stereotyping or not is of no consequence, because the fact is that we as gay people, especially in the olden days before we had our rights, any rights at all really, in the 50s and 60s and things like that, before the gay rights liberation movement came about, it was almost imperative that we have some sort of means of picking out other people. And that's why they would have handkerchiefs, and they would have, I don't know, a feather in their head, or their lapel, or a rose or a flower or whatever. And so those are ways and cues to find those things. But I think there's also maybe an evolutionary means of seeking out people like ourselves for not procreation, obviously, but for sexual conquest and for sexual, fun or whatever. And so it is, I think, inherent, and indeed, I think that it is certainly, at least partially, subconscious and innate within gay people. And that's why, for example, with me, when I was, I've always had a really finely attuned gaydar. I've always had one. And, that's why I know that it's a real thing. It's not it's just something I'm making up or whatever. And so it is important that people realize that some of us do know that we have what you want to call gaydar, whether it's stereotyping or not. And for example, when I was, my cousin, he is kind of anti-gay or whatever. I mean, he's not anti-gay, but he's just not his parents are more anti-gay, but he's not really anti-gay, just not real comfortable with it. My first cousin, when I was growing up, when I came out to him or whatever, and the rest of the family, he wasn't that comfortable with it. Anyway, so fast forward years and years later, and he has 2 kids. And he had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And the girl, I had never met either one of them. I still haven't, because I don't really talk to them. They live in California. I was looking at a photograph of the girl, and she was probably 5, 6 years old. She didn't look especially butch. She didn't look like she was sporty or Peppermint Patty-ish or anything like that. She was very feminine looking. And for some reason, I looked at her and I said, oh, she's going to be gay. I didn't say that to him. I said it to my mother. And she said, why do you say that? I said, I can just tell. She's going to be gay. I said, what are you talking about? I said, it's gaydar. And fast forward to about 3 or 4 months ago, lo and behold, she comes out to my cousin. She's now, I think, 16 or 15 or something. Comes out to my cousin and my uncle and my aunt. And, of course, they had a really hard time with it. And I said to my mother, told you. Told you. So it is a real thing. And what was I making a judgment on? Based on how she dressed? No. Based on how she looked? No. Based on what? It was an instinctual thing. It was nothing. There was nothing for me to think. I'd never met the girl, right? I'd never met her. I still haven't. So there's nothing for me to say that she was gay, in any sort of knowledgeable fashion. I didn't have any clue that she was gay except for what I felt innately. And that is gaydar, in my opinion. And also in high school, I don't really talked about this much, but anyway, in high school, there was a guy I had a huge crush on, and we were we had a science lab together in chemistry class, and he was assigned to be my partner. He was a really big jock or whatever on campus. I have to get a drink, just a second. Sorry about that. He was a really big jock on campus, and he was a football player. I say football player. I think it was football or baseball. I don't know. It's something like that. Anyway, and he was I thought at the time, of course, thinking back, he was okay, I guess. But at the time, I just thought he was just drop dead gorgeous. He had blonde hair and he had blue eyes. He was big and he was muscular and he had a deep voice and he was just sexy, and he was straight as hell. Okay. He was just so straight. And it was just he was just really straight. He had a girlfriend. He was a cheerleader, of course. And he was just a stereotypical jock, right? And so there was nothing about him that screamed or said gay. However, I just had a feeling that he may be gay because I don't know why. I don't know what it was about him that made me think that, other than the fact that I just had an instinct that he was gay, even though there was no reason for me to think that. And so his name was Eric, by the way. Anyway, so so one day, we got called to an assembly in the auditorium during class. I don't remember what for or whatever. And I had sat back towards the back of the auditorium. Everybody else was towards the front. And it was our class and a few other classes. It wasn't the whole school, but it was a lot of the school. Anyway, and so we were kind of back there by ourselves. And he sat down next to me because we were in the lab together. And this orientation or whatever they were doing went on for about 30 minutes. And anyway, and about 10 minutes into it, he's sitting there next to me. He puts his hand on my knee. Okay. And I get this jolt of electricity going through my body. And I'm thinking, okay, is he, of course, in my mind, I'm thinking he's just trying to make a joke of me or a mockery of me because he knows I'm gay, and he's trying, this is a trick or a prank, or people are watching us and he's trying to just make fun of me or whatever. Right. And so I was I put my hand on his hand. I pushed it away. I said, don't do that here. And he said, why? He said, why not? Like that. And he did it again. And then he slid his hand up to my crotch. And anyway, my point is, it got to a little more. He was very, very brazen about the whole thing, and we were way back in the back by ourselves, and nobody else could see us. I mean, we weren't by the door or anything. We weren't by the aisle end, so we were at the other side. Anyway, my point is we didn't have sex or anything, but he was basically molesting and fondling me, and I was doing the same to him. And so I was at that point vindicated. So after the assembly was over, we had to sit there for a few minutes, of course, and then we got up and we went back to class. And so through the whole class, I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy's gay, this guy's gay, this guy's gay, this guy's gay. And I'm also wondering, when's the other shoe going to drop? Is he going to all of a sudden start laughing and telling his friends, in the middle of class or whatever? He never said anything. And the next day, he didn't show up to class. And I found out after that he dropped out of the class. And for whatever reason, they said, I can't remember what they said. And I saw him in class. I saw him in the halls or whatever, and he would look at me but kind of look away, and that would be it. And he never said anything about it or anything else. And then it turns out, now as an adult, he's gay. So these are just a couple of examples of my instinct being dead on about people that were completely un-gay looking or whatever, people who were completely not what you would have expected to be. You would have expected to be gay, a very stereotypical, macho jock guy, and a teenage girl whom I had never met, who happens to be my cousin. Excuse me. So my point is, there is definitely something to the fact that Gaydar is instinctual, whether or not it is a combination of being on, using your instincts and using visual cues, and it probably is a combination of those things. I don't think it's what you would call stereotyping as much as I would say it is an instinctual instinct. Just like I think animals have instincts about, like birds have instinct, right? How do they fly in groups and always know to go back south and north, et cetera, in the winter and the summer and spring, and those types of things. They just do it by instinct. It's just autopilot. And I think it's the same thing with gay men and gay women. We know our kind when we see them. And I think that it's an interesting phenomena. I think it's something that is truly within us. So that's what I think about Gaydar. Sorry about the coughing. Anyway, so I'm going to take a quick break, come back, and we're going to talk about some things going on in pop culture right now. By the way, if you want to call into the show, you can. The number is 214-377-0489, I think. I can never remember. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I'm just getting old. Anyway, so I'll be right back after this.
Trying to be so provocative. I said, oh yeah, that was me. All the things I did just to be seen.